Most women are told that if they have not made it by now, something must be wrong with them. But here is the Jungian secret no one says out loud. Some women are built to bloom late on purpose because their soul refuses to flower in poisoned soil. In this piece, you're going to see why empathetic women often look behind on the outside, while something powerful is being forged underneath, and how that hidden construction becomes the very thing that makes you unstoppable when you finally open. You look around, and it seems like everyone else got their chapter on time. The marriage, the career title, the confident glow, the stable rhythm. And meanwhile, your story has felt like detours and restarts, like quiet survival while you clap for other people's milestones. But what if that messy timeline is not a failure at all? What if it is evidence that your psyche would not let you live as a costume just to keep pace? Empathic women do not simply push through what is wrong the way others can. You feel misalignment in your body first. You feel it in the job that pays well but slowly drains your spirit. You feel it in the relationship that looks fine on paper but makes you smaller in real life. You feel it in the role of the good daughter, the fixer, the dependable woman who holds everything together while quietly breaking inside. So you leave. You restart. You pause. You disappear for a while to breathe. And then you wonder why your life does not look like a straight line. Jung would call this individuation beginning, the moment the inner self refuses to keep living under the persona you performed for safety. And this is where the blooming metaphor becomes real. Some women cannot bloom at the surface first. They have to grow roots first. They have to build nervous system safety. They have to build self-respect. They have to build discernment. From the outside, it looks like a delay. From the inside, it is a deep construction. You were not late. You were becoming unbreakable. So no, you were not lazy. You were overwhelmed. You were disillusioned. You were too aware to keep pretending. You were carrying grief that no one applauded, and still you kept going. You were learning the hard way that fitting in is not the same as belonging. And that is why your sensitivity did not slow you down for no reason. It protected you from blooming in a life that would have collapsed anyway. Now I want you to stop treating your pain like a detour and start treating it like proof. Take 3 minutes and do this preparation proof exercise, not as homework, but as a mindset shift. Set a timer and write 3 moments that broke you but also matured you. A betrayal that woke you up. A burnout that forced you to change. A loss that clarified what matters. For each one, finish this sentence. This prepared me to be specific. This prepared me to stop abandoning myself. This prepared me to choose work that aligns with my values. This prepared me to trust my body's no. Read your lines back slowly. You will feel it. Those were not delays. Those were seasons underground. And if your path has felt heavier, it is because your sensitivity is not a flaw. It is a design. Some mornings you wake up already tired, not because you slept poorly, but because your system never fully shut down. That is what it means to live at a higher emotional resolution. You are not only reacting to events, you are registering tone, motive, tension, and what is left unsaid. You can feel when a room is off before anyone admits it. You can sense when a good opportunity comes with a hidden cost. And this is why empathetic women often appear to start later. It is not hesitation, it is calibration. Your sensitivity is not a weakness, it is designed. A woman who feels deeply cannot build a life out of what looks good. She has to build it out of what feels true. That is why you struggle to stay in jobs that feel empty, even if the paycheck is solid and the title makes others proud. You sit in meetings, listen to people talk about goals that do not touch your soul, and something in you quietly whispers, "This is not my life." You cannot keep forcing yourself to chase what does not fit because your nervous system will eventually protest. It shows up as burnout that looks sudden but was built over years of quiet self-betrayal. It shows up as getting sick right when you are finally doing well. It shows up as the strange sadness after a promotion when you realize you climbed the wrong ladder. You see it in relationships too. You cannot hustle your way through a love your soul rejects. You can try to be understanding, try to be low maintenance, try to tell yourself it is just a phase, but you still feel the misalignment in your chest. The conversations feel thin. The connection feels performative. You keep giving more than you receive, then calling it maturity. And then one night, you are sitting next to someone who says they love you, and you feel more alone than you did when you were single. That is not drama. That is your inner truth refusing to be negotiated. This is also why solitude becomes medicine, not punishment. Not because you hate people, but because your system needs quiet to return to itself. The culture calls it disappearing. You call it recovering. You take long drives with no music. You sit in the car for a minute before walking inside because you need to gather your energy back into your body. You stop answering texts right away because you can feel how quickly other people's urgency becomes your responsibility. You crave simple things that look boring to others: a clean kitchen, a slow walk, a morning with no demands. This is not laziness, it is a regulation. It is your nervous system doing deep work that no one applauds. And if you want proof that this is a design, look at what happens when you ignore it. When you override your sensitivity, you pay. You become short-tempered with your children because you have nothing left. You numb out at night because you cannot come down from the emotional noise of the day. You feel guilty for resting, then resentful for giving. You keep trying to push through, but the more you push, the less alive you feel. This is the turning point many women reach after decades of being capable. Capability kept you functioning. Sensitivity is what will make you free. So let's turn awareness into direction. Take 5 minutes and do the energy audit 5 and 5. Write 5 things that drain you, even if they seem normal. Then write 5 things that restore you, even if they seem small. Circle one restorative action and do it today for 10 minutes. 10 minutes of walking, journaling, silence, stretching, or sunlight. Let it be your proof that you are allowed to live in a way your body can sustain. And here is the hopeful truth. Depth not only slows your timeline, but it protects your destiny. The old version of you may need to fall away, but what rises in its place is steadier, truer, and finally aligned with the life you were always meant to grow into. Nobody warns you that real growth can feel like grief before it feels like freedom. For empathetic women, the dark phase often begins the moment your old strategies stop working. The smile that kept the peace starts to taste like betrayal. The fixer role that once gave you identity starts to feel like a cage. Even your generosity begins to feel like a slow leak, as if your life force is draining out through tiny acts of overfunctioning. Everything goes quieter, not because you failed, but because something deeper in you refuses to build a future on self-abandonment. Jung called this individuation the sacred and uncomfortable process of becoming who you actually are. It rarely arrives as a dramatic awakening. More often, it arrives as a loss of tolerance for what is false. You realize the good girl mask was not your personality. It was your survival. You recognize how often you performed calmly, so no one would call you difficult. You see how your nervous system became the manager of everyone else's comfort, and how that management was mistaken for love. From the outside, this phase can look ordinary. You stop laughing at jokes that sting. You stop answering the call that always becomes an emotional dump. You start noticing how many small interactions require you to shrink. Then comes the moment you cannot unfeel. You sit at a dinner table, chewing while your stomach is tight, nodding at a conversation that is quietly disrespectful. You feel your body trying to disappear so the room can stay pleasant. Later, you type a long, careful message explaining your boundary in the most gentle language you can find. You read it back, and something in you goes still. You delete it. Not because you are giving up, but because you finally see the trap. The trap is not the conversation. The trap is the performance. And when you stop performing, you can feel how exposed you are, like stepping outside without armor. That is why the dark phase feels empty. Not empty as punishment, but empty as a clearing. The roles fall away, and you do not yet know who you are without them. You used to be needed. Now you are quiet. You used to measure your worth by how much you could carry. Now you begin measuring it by how little you betray yourself. It can feel lonely at first because the old version of you had a script for everything. The real you does not speak in scripts. She speaks in truth, and truth requires space. So give this phase a direction. Take 7 minutes and do persona versus self. Draw 2 columns. Persona, what I present to be accepted. Self, what I actually need to feel alive. Keep it simple and honest. Persona might be, I stay pleasant so nobody gets upset, while self is, I need to speak plainly without apologizing. Persona might be, I answer fast so I seem loving, while self is, I need time to breathe before I respond. Choose one item from the self column and protect it this week, one small act at a time. A pause before replying. A no without a paragraph. A night of rest that you do not justify. Yes, this is where many empathetic women freeze, because choosing can feel like losing old versions of yourself. But here is the hopeful truth. The freeze is not a stop sign. It is your system learning a new kind of safety. The moment you protect one real need, you prove to your body that you can survive honesty. And that is when the dark phase begins to change shape, from a collapse into a quiet construction of the woman you have been becoming all along. At some point, the pain stops being what happened to you and becomes what you keep postponing. For empathetic women, overthinking often looks like responsibility, like wisdom, like, I'm just being careful. But underneath it is a waiting trap. The part of you that loves potential more than reality keeps scanning for the perfect path, because choosing one direction can feel like killing every other version of your life. So you keep your options open like a safety blanket. You research, you plan, you rewrite your plan. You tell yourself you are preparing while time quietly keeps moving. This is why so many empathetic women carry years of almost left, almost started the business, almost went back to school, almost moved to the city that felt like oxygen, almost ended the relationship that kept turning your chest into a knot. You are intelligent enough to see every outcome. You can sense how choices ripple, how other people will react, how the risk could go wrong, how the dream could disappoint you. And because you can see so much, you start living as if your foresight is protection. But Jung would remind you that clarity is not found by thinking your way into safety. Clarity is found by living your way into truth. Overthinking is often a sophisticated form of self-protection, and it can quietly become self-erasure. You see it in the smallest scenes. You open your laptop to work on the thing that matters, and suddenly, the kitchen needs to be cleaned. You feel the pull to post the first draft, then you hear the inner critic asking, what if people judge you? You get a good idea, then spend 2 weeks comparing tools, reading reviews, watching videos, and the idea dies in your notes app. You tell yourself you will start when your energy is better, when your schedule is lighter, when you feel more confident. But the deeper truth is that confidence rarely arrives first. It arrives after you move. If you are sensitive, you do not just fear failure. You fear choosing wrong. You fear committing to a path and discovering it is not aligned. You fear losing time, losing face, losing hope. And that fear can keep you in a life that is technically safe but spiritually stale. The tragedy of overthinking is not that you choose the wrong door. It is that you keep standing in the hallway until you forget what you wanted. So make this phase practical, not poetic. For the next 7 days, try the one-choice rule. Choose one goal and do not switch. Not 10 goals, not 3. 1. Keep it small enough to be real. One project, one health habit, one skill, one step toward a new chapter. Then commit to 20 minutes a day of ugly progress. Ugly means you do it before you feel ready. You write the messy draft. You apply for the job you do not feel qualified for. You take the walk even if your mood is low. You record the first take even if your voice shakes. You stop waiting for the perfect version of you to arrive. Each day, repeat one line out loud, like a spell that breaks a spell. Clarity comes after action. Say it when you want to research instead of beginning. Say it when you want to delay one more week. Say it when you feel the old freeze returning. Because somewhere around day 3 or 4, something shifts. You realize you are not being dragged by your thoughts anymore. You are leading them. And when you stop waiting for the perfect moment, you meet the next threshold. You begin reclaiming the power you were trained to hide. The moment you start acting, you discover what was quietly controlling you: access. Not just access to your time, but access to your attention, your emotional labor, your nervous system. For empathetic women, boundaries do not begin with confidence. They begin as a tremble, a tight throat, a racing heart, a familiar urge to soften your words so no one gets upset. And this is exactly where Jung's shadow work becomes practical. Shadow integration is not becoming cold. It is reclaiming the parts of you that were labeled too much so you could stay lovable. Your anger becomes protection instead of guilt. Your ambition becomes direction instead of shame. Your intensity becomes precision instead of apology. Because here's the truth. Many women learn late. Your life did not change because you kept explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Some people do not want clarity. They want control. They want you to keep translating their behavior into something acceptable so they never have to change. They want you to keep performing kindness as self-erasure. And when you stop, it is not always a dramatic rupture. Sometimes it is just one sentence, spoken calmly, that rearranges the entire room. You feel it in ordinary moments that used to drain you. A coworker drops a last-minute task on your desk with that casual tone that assumes you will handle it because you always do. A family member makes a joke that lands like a quiet insult, then waits for you to laugh so everyone can move on. A friend calls, and you can already hear the emotional fog in their voice, the familiar pattern where your energy will be used as a rescue boat, then left behind. Or a partner asks for support, but what they really want is permission to stay the same. Old you would have explained, soothed, negotiated, and over-delivered. New you pauses long enough to feel the truth in your body. If I say yes, I betray myself. If I say no, I disappoint them. And this is the crossroads where leadership is born. Leadership is not a title. It is the moment you choose self-respect over the reflex to be liked. It is the moment you stop apologizing for being clear. You do not raise your voice. You do not list your reasons like evidence in a courtroom. You simply place your boundary down like a clean line of light and let reality respond. This is also where solitude needs an upgrade. Solitude once saved you. It gave you space to hear your own thoughts again, to recalibrate, to stop absorbing everyone else's weather. But staying isolated too long becomes a cage. The goal is not to need anyone. The goal is to stop needing the wrong people. You do not need more friends, more contacts, more conversations. You need the right nervous system near yours. You need relationships that do not require you to shrink to be safe. Make this real in 10 minutes. Do a boundary rehearsal, not on paper, but out loud. Choose one line and practice it 10 times until your body stops treating it like danger. That doesn't work for me. No, but thank you. I'm not available for that. Notice what happens as you repeat it. The first few times your chest may tighten. You may want to add extra words, a story, or an excuse. Keep it simple. You are training your nervous system to understand a new truth. You can be kind and still be firm. Then, do a quick pack check. Write down 3 people who strengthen you, the ones you feel lighter after. Then, 3 who drain you, the ones who leave you foggy, tense, or small. Choose one draining interaction to reduce this week, even by 20%. Fewer texts, shorter calls, one skipped gathering, one less rescue mission. And somewhere in that quiet consistency, something surprising begins to happen. When you protect your energy and act as if your boundaries matter, your scattered pieces start to fuse. The part of you that used to fragment for everyone else begins to gather back into one whole woman. One day, almost without warning, the scattered pieces start to make sense. Not because life suddenly gets easy, but because you finally stop building from imitation and start building from truth. The detours that embarrassed you become evidence of discernment. The seasons of solitude stop looking like failure and start looking like training. The heartbreak, The burnout, the restarts, the boundaries you learn to hold with trembling hands, they begin to fuse into a single direction. This is when late bloomers win, not by catching up, but by becoming congruent. Jung would call this the quiet completion of individuation. When your inner world and outer choices finally match, synchronicity feels less like a miracle and more like a response. You notice the right book shows up at the right time. A conversation opens a door you were not forcing. An opportunity appears that fits your nervous system instead of draining it. You stop chasing life like it is always ahead of you, and life starts moving toward you because you are no longer leaking energy into what is not meant for you. And this is the line you may need to hear. You were not lost. You were becoming specialized. Take 8 minutes and make a synthesis map. Draw 3 circles and label them. Skills you've built, pain you've survived, problems people come to you for. In the overlap, write what you see. That overlap is your late bloomer advantage. It is the work you are uniquely equipped to do, the love you are finally ready to receive, the life your roots can actually hold. Now, finish with 3 non-negotiables, written like vows: respect, truth, peace. You're not late, you're loaded. Late bloomers win because their roots are real.
If this touched something sacred inside you, don't let it fade into silence. Like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your presence here is not just support, it's resonance. And if you feel moved to give back, your donation becomes a quiet but powerful gesture that helps keep this light alive for others still walking in the dark.